Welcome to Acorn to Oak with Penny Quayle Pierce and co-host Matthew Donachie. Within each acorn, there is the DNA that strives to be a mighty oak tree. All it needs to reach its potential for greatness is to be activated. You are the acorn. On this show, we will share with you the tools and guidance you need to grow into the person you are meant to be. And now your host, Penny Quayle Pierce and co-host Matthew Donachie.
Hi, good evening and welcome folks. So the first thing I probably need to say is that Matthew's not with us this evening, so he's not hosting this evening, but a great friend of mine, Jill Pay, is with me. So we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship and what that means. And, you know, in the actual write-up, I was talking about two different entrepreneurs. One entrepreneur had the perfect business strategy mapped out, you know, for the next 24 months, but spent every day constantly thinking that there wasn't enough time, feeling like they weren't as far along as they should be, just operating from a place of stress and overwhelm. And the other entrepreneur had no business strategy at all and was shooting from the hip more days than not. But they learned over time that the overriding and the natural tendency for the mind was to concentrate on the problems, and instead of operating from a place of joy, curiosity and gratitude. You know, and can you guess who had the most success? You know, well, the answer is obviously because we all know people who have twice the amount of success and half the amount of wit, which is, you know, the truth be told, you know, mindset is 80% of winning the game of business. You can have a perfect strategy but not the right mindset, and it's almost impossible to succeed. And if you have the right mindset, you'll eventually figure out, you know, and it may take you a long time. But if you combine mindset with the right strategies, you can create explosive growth in your business in a short amount of time. And, you know, it's really important to have a general roadmap of how to be a successful entrepreneur post-COVID, as the new world evolves and unfolds. And it's very important to realize that mindset is really important. It's, as I said, 80% of winning the game of business. But if you don't put your business into where your passion is, then you're just working and working and working with no real joy. And it's the joy that actually makes your business successful. So I just wanted to hand over to Jill so she can introduce herself and say good evening.
Hi everybody, I'm Jill and I've worked with Penny for a very long time, and we've been on many adventures together and worked together as well as being friends. So yes, I'm really happy to be here. I'm very happy to be talking about this. It's so important to look at how our mindset can really make a difference in any walk of life, but particularly when you're looking at being an entrepreneur and you know, working in a way that really brings you joy and you bring passion to it.
Yeah, I think, you know, for me, it's really great to have you here, Jill, because we did, over the last month or so, we did the 7-day mental health diet together. Or yes. we were playing around with it more than anything else, and realizing that, you know, again, the mental diet that we actually allow ourselves to feed on is very much about mindset, and realizing that if we allow negativity to run our lives, whether it's just small little thoughts or just thinking, oh, this is going to be difficult, then it turns out to be difficult. If we think we're going to sail through it, we actually sail through it with no real problem whatsoever. And it's, again, obviously Dr. Emmett Fox, who first described the mental health diet back in 1935, I think, or maybe 34. He was talking about not allowing the embers of negative thoughts to, stick on your jacket, but brush them off really quickly, so that, you are going to have negative thoughts. But it's the point being here with obviously the 7-day mental health challenge is not to actually allow them to stick, to brush them off really quickly, so that you're not constantly going back to the same thought forms. And I was just going to ask you how you found that process, Jill.
It was a really terrific process to do, and I think I always kind of go into these things and think, okay, what's going to happen now? And actually, I found, of course, as soon as you start, it's like any diet. So as soon as you go on a physical diet, all you want to eat is cream cakes, and it was a very similar thing. And it was a very similar thing with the mental diet, because the mental health diet, as soon as I thought, right, I'm going to deal with these negative thoughts, what happened? Every single negative thought I could ever have thought started coming up. So I thought, that's interesting. So that's how this works. It shows you like a big picture. This is the kind of thing we're talking about here. And you see all these things. Oh, right. Okay. So then actually that was really helpful part of the process for me, because it really helped me it was like I didn't need any kind of subtle hints. I just needed to be shown this is what's happening. And really love the analogy with the embers, because it's so true, because if you allow it to either just stick on and then burn away, that is literally what happens with the negative thought, and it burns a groove in your mind, and then it's very hard then to undo it. So for me, I found it fascinating, but also really, really positive overall. It was a great week.
I think, I found a similar thing, and for me, very much, about discussing entrepreneurship this evening is very much, if people want to have a mission-driven life which has an impactful impact on humanity and on our global family, it's looking at it and going, okay, so entrepreneurship, I think sometimes is totally misrepresented, because when people say they're an entrepreneur, it's like immediately setting themselves above other people, which is not actually what it's meant to be. If I describe myself at all in that thread, I would say that I was a spiritual entrepreneur who is very much in service to humanity. And this is, I think, one of the things that we forget, that entrepreneurship is actually putting yourself in service to the global community. And whether that be, having a business that delivers bread or delivers some service, or is, they're not just, entrepreneurship is not just about making a profit. It is actually being a lot more consciously directed than just profit driven, because that's a business owner, that's not an entrepreneur. And very much for me, it's about making that distinction straight away. So what we're actually talking about this evening is entrepreneurship, not somebody who is just a business owner. So I know, Jill, you've been in an entrepreneurship type situation for, ever since you actually finished your homeopathic course and became a homeopath. It was very much about being in service to the community more than anything else. So do you have any sort of tips that you would think is good to hand on to people? Or not, and you can say no, Penny. I don't. But, I'm trying to pick your brain here.
Yes, I mean, I absolutely agree. The whole thing about the difference between entrepreneurship and being a business person is that what I found was that actually my process of developing how I work was very much looking at lots of threads and picking and choosing which thread would go in and which thread wouldn't go in. So if I had a skill or I could do something, it wasn't just as simple as, oh, I can do that. I actually had to have passion about it and want to use that skill and take that and bring that in, almost like a weaving. So I would look at it, and I reflected back at one point and thought, opportunities came to me at certain times, and I would be looking at them going, oh, okay, what's this mean? And when I looked and reflected, those opportunities were literally like these threads coming together in a certain way. And so it's making those choices about what you actually want to do, which makes your soul sing, which makes you feel good. Because if you feel good, then your service, what you're offering, is going to do good and make others feel good as well, whatever it is. So as Penny said, if it's delivering bread, that bread will be delicious, whatever it is, because it's how you are so passionate about it. So it could be sweeping the roads. It doesn't matter. If you sweep the roads with passion, those roads will be clean and shiny. So it's about bringing those real true passion, those real enjoyment, real joy to anything that you're putting in. Even grunt work, you can bring, grunt work. There's always grunt work to do. There's always things that you go, oh, I've got to do my accounts. Unless you're a real passionate person about accounts, it can be a bit, but you have to go, well, if I don't do this part of it, then it is an essential part. So it's bringing your joy and passion to that as well.
And it's, and also it may well flag up a time where you actually outsource. And if you don't like doing book work, but you want to focus on the service that you're providing, then you get a bookkeeper and hand that over with joy, and hand it over to them and think, that is a fantastic way to outsource something that I don't necessarily enjoy doing myself, but helping somebody earn their own living is spreading the joy. And it really is, it helps you get into gratitude very, very quickly. Because, I must admit, I'm talking about this because I outsource book work. I know a real, I don't find joy in doing my accounts, but I have great gratitude that it's done. So I outsource it. And, fantastically, my tax returns are, all I end up doing is putting figures in because the book work has already been done. And that I can do, and that I actually have great gratitude around, because obviously then my taxes are paid and everything's moving the way it should be moving. But, entrepreneurs don't have the attitude of, I will outsource what I do not enjoy or what I do not feel any gratitude around, but I will allow the gratitude to be there because somebody else is being employed to do it for me, and therefore I am paying them and helping them to run their own either business or entrepreneurship. And it's about cooperation, and it's about collaboration. You know, cooperation and collaboration as an entrepreneur is an essential strategy of realizing that you can't cover every base yourself. And it's the business owner that gets stuck into the fact that they need to earn a certain amount of profit, instead of actually looking at, you know, how much joy and abundance can I actually spread in the community, and not actually trying to keep control over things too tightly, and realizing that if they do that, then they lose their entrepreneurship, because they are not thinking of the community or globally. They're just thinking about themselves and their businesses. And I think this is one of the biggest things, and this is one of the biggest things on the mindset, is that if you do that, you are actually taking yourself out of the flow. And if you go out of the flow with life, then you're going to find it a real struggle to be successful. Or you will have a certain amount of success, but you'll actually never get to the dream status that you would like to be in, i.e., you know, being that multimillionaire or whatever it is that, you know, you've put down as your goals or your targets. And I find it really interesting when I'm working with businesses and or helping people just see a different way of doing things, that it's because of their feelings that maybe they're being left behind, or they're not doing what they should be doing, or they're not hitting the targets that they want to hit. And actually, if you bring it back to how you feel about what you're doing every day, that's when, you know, Jill was talking about the, you know, if it's soul-led, if it's spirit-led, then you're going to actually have more success, because you're going to understand that not everything is about a profit and not everything is about a sale. It's actually what you're actually trying to achieve in the community, which is much more important. So is there anything else you would like to say about that?
Yes, I mean, it's absolutely right. When you were talking then, I was reminded very much of someone who has been a successful businessman, who did say once in my presence, you know, he really struggled with VAT, value added tax, and he realized that actually he didn't have to do it. There were people who enjoyed doing it, and actually part of what you've been saying is about entrepreneur is that it is about that being part of a big network, of being part of a local network, a wider network, and and ultimately the global network. And we were talking, Penny mentioned COVID, different ways of working, and actually one of the things that really has struck me is that we are embracing so much more a global way of working because of the platforms that we're using now, the technology that we're using. And actually that really speaks to this whole way of working now. So, you know, we're working with people in Peru right now. We're working, you know, with people in Los Angeles. We're working, and this is really, really opening up in a big way. So it's looking at how actually also coming back to the point about sharing, or, you know, using other people's, letting other people's talents be used as well, and everybody, so that if you don't do that, then you're almost strangling it. You're almost not, you know, keeping tight hold on it will strangle, and it will die.
Anyway, we're coming up to a break, so we've got a chance to have a drink, and we'll see you on the other side.
conscious connection to a more mindful world. Om Times Radio, IOM FM. Om Times Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Om Times, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
I'm Kathy Williams, host of Sexy Mom Abundant Life radio show on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. On the show, we explore living abundantly in every area of your life. Ways to let go of limiting patterns and beliefs and to step into the flow of creativity and possibility, knowing you are supported by the universe.
We are talking about your life. Ever wonder, is this as good as it gets? No, it could be so much better. At Acorn to Oak, we know you are seeking more happiness, joy, unconditional love, financial freedom, passion, and purpose. Find your unique mojo and live an extraordinary life. Want to know more? Contact us at our website, acorntooak.org.uk.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
So we're back and we're talking about entrepreneurship and a slight difference between being an entrepreneur and a business owner. And please don't think I'm saying that being a business owner is like being a second-class citizen, because that's not true. But entrepreneurship is something slightly more globally aware, slightly more aware of the community, and more aware of, as Jill was saying before the last break, is different opportunities come to you at different times in your life as you're moving through your life. And she was just talking a little bit about a couple of shaman that we have been working with over the last 5 weeks, because basically COVID had wiped out their a healing center in Peru, and needing to be able to pay for the village to continue working, and hopefully we'll get through COVID, and when people can travel again, they can actually extend their hands again to bring people from all over the world to be part of their center in Peru, in the Amazon. And for me, it was very, very simple when this someone got in contact with me and said, "Ooh, Javier and Jess are having a bit of a hard time, and they've had COVID themselves," and all that type of stuff. It was very much putting my hand on my heart and just basically saying, "Okay, so what can I do to help and support them?" Because I've known them for probably about 7 years, and it was just very much a case of, well, I'm learning how to use Zoom, so how about getting these guys on Zoom and running a clinic via Zoom, which we trialed out, and straight away within a few hours, the 6 appointments that we were setting up for them on a Friday were filled. And it's gone from strength to strength, and they've opened it up another day. They're doing Tuesdays and Fridays now, which is fantastic. And, very much about making sure that the people who are involved with this it's a win-win-win right the way round. And, so the translators are getting paid, Javier and Jess are getting paid, they've earned enough money to now host it themselves, and that's what it was all about, was helping them to host something so they take ownership of it themselves. And and it's beginning to fly, and it's very much, when I look at something like that, it makes my heart sing, because that is part of what I do, is to help people set up their own practices, their own businesses, their own entrepreneurship. And I'll tell you something, these two shaman may not have understood entrepreneurship at the very beginning, but they certainly understand it now. And they do it with enormous grace, and a lot of fun, and a lot of unconditional love is being spread just from this one thing. And it's fantastic, and for me that is part of being a spiritual entrepreneur. It's not about turning around and me saying, oh, I'm worried about people taking my clients, taking my students, maybe they're spending more money with Javier and Jess now instead of spending it with me, and all of this negative rubbish that an awful lot of people actually have to work through to actually realise, what I have gained the most from this is being able to help somebody else who needed the help at the time. And that brings huge abundance into my life, and huge joy into my life, and absolute gratitude that the Acorn to Oak community really just embraced this so readily, and were just so thrilled to be able to work with Javier and Jess. And they're in Peru, and we're all in the UK, and we've also got quite a few international people coming in now, which is just fantastic, and it just has a life of its own, and that it just brings so much joy and gratitude from so many people. So I know, Jill, you were also involved with this, weren't you? So you were part of the translation group. I speak English. You're bilingual.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it has, as exactly as you say, Penny. It's been an absolute joy, and it's been such a joy to really reconnect with Javier and Jessica as well, from our own point of view, and as well as and I think this is the whole essence of it. It's actually there's a whole thing around that's called paying it forward, and it's about exactly as you were saying, Penny, generosity and grace. And so the more you give, the more you receive, and it's this flow. So it rather, and as I was saying before the break about when you hold on to everything so tightly and strangle it, actually giving a bit here, giving a bit there, and with grace and gratitude and joy, it just keeps that flow moving so well. And so it's about really looking at that, you being part, not just being one person, but being part of a network, being part of a global community, literally. And so it's all those analogies around, you throw a pebble into the pond and the ripples go. It's all those analogies. It's all those things about being part of, we are just one ripple in the ocean. But but we're as important as the whole ocean.
Yeah.
And so it's that all those analogies around being part of the bigger whole, and allowing that flow, really, very much.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, and I think both of us are devotees of Paramahansa Yogananda, and I just love the chant that he has of you are a drop of the ocean, or you are the ocean. You are the microcosm and the macrocosm. You are just we are very, very small, but we are also so immense and so huge. And it is that, and it is learning. I think one of the biggest skills of any entrepreneur is the skill of grace and gratitude, and realizing that, you know, you can actually affect millions, and you can actually help raise the vibration of the whole planet, not just yourself, but in doing, raising your own vibration, and, you know, singing your own soul song, you can literally be a beacon to the world. And I think, you know, very much for me, it was learning very early on in my spiritual entrepreneurship that this is it's a way of life. It's not just a business. And that's when I suddenly realized, you know, I was not a business owner. This was a life choice. And the life for me was very much about, living in grace, living in gratitude, living abundance, and actually working to make sure that, you know, if I was abundant, then everybody else who was around me was also abundant. And, you know, in doing that, that is true entrepreneurship. That is true, you know, and you know, okay, fair enough. I now look at myself as a spiritual entrepreneur, because also very much a part of what my life is also encouraging other people to look at spiritual laws, to look at, you know, how we live our lives. Yes, mindset is really, really important, but, you know, your conscious mind is only 20% of your consciousness, you know, and it's really important to understand that. You know, your rational mind is important because it's what we focus on. But, you know, we're much bigger entities than just our rational mind. And, you know, it's, as we talked about in the past, you know, your subconscious mind and your superconscious mind is, you know, where the real juicy things are. And obviously, you know, your spiritual mind or your superconscious mind is 50%. It's 50% of your consciousness. You know, and, you know, in that 50% is our higher selves. It is our spiritual vision of how we want to be perceived in this world, how we want to be in this world. And that is very much part of who we are as entrepreneurs. You know, we very much look at what our vision is, what our vision for how we want to live, whether that be, as I was talking earlier on, whether that's, you know, being a baker, whether, you know, Jill was talking about being, a janitor or a person who, you know, cleans up the streets. Or it may be that you're a service person like myself who offers services, i.e. coaching and training and all of that type of thing. And how do I want to do that? You know, how do I want to serve people so that they uncover their truest potential and they reach their goals and they have a happy life, which is financially secure, which is with, you know, a great family and friends, which is actually having, you know, working at a job that they love, and, you know, and however much, you know, however many challenges are thrown at them, they will still move forward. You know, this is exactly what, again, looking at, if you have a spiritual vision and you put your spiritual vision into whatever business or whatever service that you have, you're always going to succeed. And I think that's really important to get hold of. So again, Jill, I'm handing it over to you, so I'm not talking so much.
No, I mean, it's again, it all comes together and it makes sense, because it's about, also for me, it's about joining it all up. And actually, what we haven't spoken about, although we probably have, but in implied, is the heart. Is the heart of the thing. And actually, if you look at the sum of the parts, as Penny says, we've got the conscious mind, we've got the subconscious, the superconscious, and we have our heart, and our passion, and our spiritual vision is also imbued with our heart, with love, with we talk about grace and generosity, but we're also talking about love and bringing the heart into it, because without it, it's kind of like an empty vessel, and I think it's really important to bring that in and bring it in, which whatever you're doing, and especially if you're aiming to be an entrepreneur and make a difference, it has to come from your heart as well, because your heart kind of brings all those other parts of yourself together.
Absolutely, and well caught there, Jill. I hadn't mentioned heart at all, but it's very much heart intelligence and emotional intelligence are just so important for an entrepreneur, and we'll talk more about that after the break. So we're coming up for a break, so we'll see you on the other side.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. Om Times Radio, IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. Om Times Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single Om Times endeavor. Host your show with Om Times Radio Network.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of Om Times Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On. My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
We are talking about your life. Ever wonder, is this as good as it gets? No, it could be so much better. At Acorn to Oak, we know you are seeking more happiness, joy, unconditional love, financial freedom, passion, and purpose. Find your unique mojo and live an extraordinary life. Want to know more? Contact us at our website, acorntooak.org.uk.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, so we're back. Hi, it's Penny again. And we're talking about entrepreneurship and being part of the global community. And just before the break, we were talking about heart intelligence, and we were talking about emotional intelligence, and how, very, very much that's are two incredible skills for an entrepreneur. And, you know, when we're talking about heart intelligence, as Jill was saying, was very much about, you know, setting our goals and setting our spiritual vision around how we feel. And, you know, you've heard Matthew and I say this many, many times, that, you know, when you're making a decision, a good rule of thumb is to put your actual hand on your heart and actually go, okay, so I'm steady here, I know where my intelligence needs to be, which is heart intelligence, and make a choice from that. So if you know, we were talking about opportunities that arise during your life as an entrepreneur, and pretty much just going to your heart center and going, is this the right thing for me to be doing right here, right now? And I know Jill uses this in her life too, and it's a really amazing skill. It doesn't take you longer than 30 seconds just to get that right answer. If it feels good, if you get a sense of excitement, and you get a little bit of a buzz of, you know, if Matthew was here, he would be yelling, it's epic, you know, whenever he gets the buzz that he's going to do something epic. As he says, you know, it always turns out into something that he couldn't even begin to imagine before he decided to do it. And it is just so true. You know, things, you know, I had no idea when I reached out to Javier and Jess and said, look, you know, you, for want of another way of doing it, you're in the SHIT zone. Would you like me to, you know, would you like to hear what I have to say? And we got on the phone and we hashed something out in about half an hour, and then I ran with it. We ran with it. And, you know, they look at me and sometimes shake their head and goes, Penny's a bit of a nutter, but we trust her. And, you know, what's the worst thing that was going to happen? The worst thing that would happen is that nobody would turn up. Well, you know, the lucky thing about being on Zoom is you don't have any overheads, you don't have any venue to pay for, yakka, yakka, yakka. So we would waste a few hours, and that would have been the worst thing about it. But we put it out there, we put a lot of energy out there with it, and it ran, and it's really going to take off, which is fantastic news. And, you know, every time I do that, you know, for me, I work really, really well when I have a deadline. So, you know, for me, I will just whack in, right, I'm going to do a 3-day course on this subject, and I'm going to do it in 3 weeks. And yeah, this is typical of me. I put myself under pressure to actually just go, right, it's on. And bang, and it always happens. And it always is something that is just truly and utterly amazing. And I know Jill has done the same things. So, you know, tell them a couple of your experiences, Jill, of doing that. For me, it's when I set the deadline. I don't procrastinate.
Yes, I mean, it's true. We all have different motivators, and I have to say a deadline is a definite big motivator. So, you know, and I think that's partly how we know when we begin to know ourselves, and we know how we tick, and we know what motivates us or what demotivates us, and yeah, I mean, I just think for me as well, talking about vision and how we manifest things, for me, I've manifested things in the past. I've manifested a 4-bedroom house. I've manifested a job, which some years ago, my circumstances were very, very different, and the job was presented. It was actually created for me because I put it into my vision. And it manifested. So but and even I think sometimes it's like Penny was saying about Matthew, when he gets the feeling and he's like, I'm not quite sure what this is going to look like, but it's the feeling. And for me, it was very much like that, because when a particular opportunity arose for me, and I was with it stuck in my head going, oh, I'm not sure how this is going to work, blah blah blah, but it felt absolutely right, so I went with it, and it was the right thing. And so it's engaging, as Penny said, putting your hand on your heart. It feels solid, it feels right, I'm going to go with it. My head can tell me all sorts of stories about why it won't go right, but actually, in my heart, I know it's right. And it sorts itself out because it is the right decision. So it's actually that level of trust and knowledge of self, as well as, using your heart intelligence. And yes, of course, there are practical things that our conscious mind needs to take care of. But actually, the big decisions are not made in our conscious mind. They're made in our heart, in our superconscious, in our visions. And we can manifest things in that way. It can pan out how we want it to.
Yeah, and the other part of me, are also, we talked about the superconscious, the subconscious. We talked about the conscious mind. We talked about heart intelligence, emotional intelligence, but don't forget gut as well. Gut intelligence. Gut intelligence is well, it's really important because
it's true.
It's just that gut intelligence. We forget that we actually have neurons. The stuff that our brain is made of. We have as many of those in the heart and also in the gut. So when you talk about gut intelligence, it's true. We have as many neurons in our gut as we do everywhere else. They seem to be dispersed all over the body, which actually freaks me out, being a nurse and having done years and years of A&P. But it is the truth. And when we actually, so when you either get that gut feeling that this is going to work, this is an opportunity, then that's great. But also, as I said, check it out with your heart and just allow yourself. And if there's that feeling of excitement, then you're on a winning, you're on a winning wicket, as we'd say in the UK, because we all talk about cricket. I don't know why, but it's a national pastime, isn't it? And it's that and the weather. And so, if your gut, your heart, it's like actual in alignment. We talk about a lot of, if you're in alignment with the vision, you get the rush of energy. You just go, wow, this is going to be enormous. And then you just go, okay, fair enough. Then the strategy needs to come in. Then you need to do the strategy, i.e. planning and preparation prevent piss poor performance. But it's also, I'm not going to sit here, for me, waste time on telling you about strategies. You can get strategies from any business book, any book. You can Google a business book and they will tell you strategy upon strategy upon strategy on how to build a business and how to be an entrepreneur. But what we're trying to get over in tonight's show is it's about, yes, mindset is important, but it's not just about the mindset. It's about how you approach it from, sorry, I've lost my mind now, which is it's not difficult. It's how you approach it from, abundance and curiosity and joy and gratitude. Those are what we would call WD-40 in the UK, which means it's the WD-40 is what you spray on machinery to make sure it all works. It's the oil. And it's really important to have that universal oil which just makes things real easy, and you're not crunching or grinding or trying to make something work that actually you have no joy for. Because when you actually lose the joy, that's when you lose your reason to succeed. And joy is very much part of how the universe works. And if you're joyous, one of the things that I always said about, and I've obviously, like everybody else, I have my bad days, and I just look at it and think, why on earth am I doing this? And take a breath and go, why on earth am I doing this? Why do I feel stuck? What is actually going on? And that's when I realised that I've actually been working too hard, and I haven't been paying enough attention to myself, and I've lost the joy. And I look at it and go, well, why am I working this hard if there's no joy? And yes, you need to have focus, you need to have the planning and the preparation, because that's what prevents piss poor performance. But you also need to know that this is what I am doing with my life because I love it so much. And I was away last week, and my family was going off to see my mum, and we basically did a bit of a road trip. And part of that road trip was going to Glastonbury, and Glastonbury is one of my favourite places in the UK. That and Stonehenge, but we walked up the Tor, which is quite a big hill, and it has a tower on the top. And as you come down, you go to an inner cave, which is called the White Caves. And it has two different springs. One is the White Spring, and they also have the Red Spring that come together in a certain area in Glastonbury. And it's very symbolic, and it's very, very, in some ways, sacred. And it was just wonderful to go and revisit that particular place, because again, as soon as I walked into the White Caves, there wasn't anybody there, believe it or not, even though it's the summer. I think we were just at a quiet stage. But the time before that, I had been there with a whole group of people from Acorn to Oak, and we had been chanting. And it took me back to that space of joy and that space of wonder of how you can create magical things from nothing. And that just reminded me and just reminded me what true entrepreneurship is all about. It's magical, and so it should be magical. And it's, when things flow, absolutely the impossible is every day. The outstanding is every day. It is truly fantastic. And I know that Jill has had some of these experiences, and it is wonderful. And obviously it's very difficult to get over to people. But I'm ranting again. That's what you're thinking.
Yeah. It's the sense of total connection. And that's
absolutely.
Within it's the sense that and these pauses, these it doesn't even have to be a ceremony. It can be a pause. It can be a meditative pause, but it's about that connection, and it's knowing that we are all connected. We are connected within, and we are connected without, and we are all connected. And when we lose the connection is when things start to go awry. And it's about, finding ways to maintain that connection and maintain the joy as well, because the joy is there in the connection, knowing that we are all.
Yeah, and I also think, one of the great explanations for what we're actually been through in the last few months is very much about, it was the divine pause. It was a divine pause for us to actually just go within, take a deep breath, reflect, and refocus. And, for me, again, that's what lockdown has been around. And very much about coming out now refocusing on what we want to create, how we want to be, and actually also looking at our entrepreneurship and going, what is it we would like to, or would like to help to create in this new world, in this new phase of human evolution. And I just think good luck to everybody, and we'll see you next week, and thank you, Jill, for joining us. It's been fantastic.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure.
and we'll talk to you soon, and have a great week, and just keep on being who you are. Wonderful. Take care.
Bye.